Washington Roundtable on VOK TV. I am joined by a President of Overseas Council, Mr. Mufti Shaukat Saab, Mufti Shaukat Farooki Saab, who is by trade is an attorney, a Kashmiri origin who have been an activist for life. He is joining us today to discuss a tragic situation that is developing in Kashmir, particularly in the valley. We have seen mounting number of innocent Kashmiris being killed by someone view is that they're being killed by target to divide the communities who have been living together for centuries, whether it be Muslims, Hindus, Sikhs, or any other religious or ethnic background. They have been living together in peace, but that is being tarnished at this time by design. So that's the topic of today's discussion that we are going to talk about. It. Who do you think is behind this innocent killing of these innocent Kashmiris who are already in a jail actually for the last 2 years? Over 1 million boots on the ground, and we see atrocities being committed. The clampdown on the media, news are not coming out. I mean, it's already a mess. And why do we have to see another? The number that is out there that we see is about 28 out of 28, 21 of them were Muslims. Why these communities are at the crossroad on ground zero, Mufti Sahib? Welcome to the show. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. Always a pleasure to be on your show. Qazi Saab, thank you very much for inviting me. Um, you have mentioned about the recent spate of killings in Kashmir, targeted killings of civilians, which is a new phenomenon. It has not been happening for some time, but at this time it has surfaced. And who is responsible for it? Uh, the official version is unknown gunmen. Unknown gunmen are responsible for it. They have not been able to apprehend anyone or fix blame for these killings on any one person or organization. Although they went on an arrest spree immediately after these incidents, and they arrested about 700 to 900 people in 2 days who were said to be suspected overground sympathizers of the what they call separatists organizations. Uh, the real question that I would raise is why are these killings happening? The reason is obvious to me. The reason is that this is being treated as a law and order problem, whereas Kashmir is an internationally recognized issue, and it should be resolved by dialogue between the concerned parties, India, Pakistan, people of Kashmir. But that has not happened for for the last 70 years. There's no dialogue. There was some attempt at some periods, different periods of time, but that has absolutely not happened, and the dispute has continued. So these are the symptoms. These are the symptoms of the dispute. The real dispute has to be solved, and then only uh, these issues will go away. So if you try to treat the symptoms, they may disappear for some time, but then they will reoccur. The Indian government's response has been to inflict uh, more harm on the people of Kashmir. They are bringing more paramilitary forces, activating the police, giving directions to arrest more people, and that is what we saw: 7 to 900 people arrested within 2 days of these incidents on the ground that they are suspected of sympathizing with the separatists movement. Mm, so I don't know what went behind that strategy, what is the rationale behind that strategy, but if it has not worked for so many years, how is more of the same thing going to work now? Uh, in the recent past, after the abrogation of Article 370 and 35A, uh, there was people were arrested, that pro government, pro India, and separatist, so-called separatist leaders, local activists in thousands, and that is what has been happening after Article 370 was abrogated 2 years ago, and it has not improved the situation on the ground.
Mufti Sahib, my concern was that do you think there is an organized effort by the BJP government to divide the communities who have been living together? Because the sudden killing of these two teachers who were from the Sikh community, and then Mr. Bandro, who was a Pandit, and that has become a high profile case in the Kashmir, even though every life is important, every soul is important, every human being is important, whoever is killed. 28 were killed, 21 of them were Muslim, and 7 of them were non Muslim. They have created this hive to give an impression as if there is no space for the people who are of minority in Kashmir. What do you have to say about this narrative that is being developed in the valley?
My camera is not working.
Yeah, here it is.
Okay. So, yeah, it's difficult. They are in charge of the valley. They are in charge. It is a union territory. It's being directly governed, administered by the government of India, its home ministry, uh, and other central agencies. So, if anything is happening there, they are aware of it. They are aware of what is happening there. They are responsible for what is happening there. So they have to come up with an explanation. Why is it happening? It's not they cannot uh, they cannot deflect the blame on any local administration, because there is no local administration. It is the central government through its governor and the security agencies, which are responsible and which are managing the security situation inside Kashmir. So if anything like this is happening, they have to explain why is this happening, who is doing this, and the impression that it is being orchestrated by the central government or the BJP government for their for an ulterior motive, which apparently in this case appears to be to divide the two communities. Uh, can I mean it sounds like that is a reasonable explanation that people can draw from all of this. Of course, you cannot point to any evidence, because you can't have evidence of these things unless there is an independent investigation, and they said they were going to investigate it. Nothing has happened so far, and you cannot expect them to have an independent investigation when that investigation is likely to lead to them. But I will revert back to the same thing, that if you allow a situation in which different agencies are at work, counter counterinsurgency agencies controlled by India. There are agencies, outside agencies also. There may be local agencies. So this is a fertile ground for anyone who wants to create trouble. And who are the victims in that situation? Are the civilians, innocent civilians who have been killed, as you say, 21 Muslims and rest of seven non-Muslim. But irrespective of whether they are Muslims or non-Muslims or Pandits or Sikhs, the point is that it is a terrible, terrible human loss. Uh, and and those are people who had families, who belonged to families. They were mothers, they were fathers, they were children, they were school-going kids, those who have been targeted. Uh, and that is the tragedy of Kashmir. But at this time, in the past, they would blame the local government of this party, of that party who was in charge. But now the central government directly bears responsibility, and they have to explain to the Kashmir and to the world why is this happening under their direct control of Jammu and Kashmir.
I am going to read a statement by the Lieutenant Governor of Kashmir, Manoj Sinha. On Sunday, he said that every drop of innocent blood will be avenged, and those who are responsible for the killing will be hunted down. Now, what do you make of this statement? Is he going to go after the killing of every single Kashmiri, or is he going to go after those hand-picked people that he think have the higher value of the blood than the lower value, or is he just making this statement for political consumption? The reason I am posing this question to you is, Mufti Saab, when Mr. Bandru was killed, right behind his store, his pharmacy, there's a huge camp by the military, other side of the wall. And then you have security forces surrounding the entire area. For every 8 or 9 Kashmiris, you have one military officer watching them over. How on earth can this happen? And all of a sudden, you're creating this drama of arresting 700, 800 people and not being able to find out who actually did this crime.
So, coming to the Lieutenant Governor's statement, it is just political drama and propaganda.
Hmm.
He is a politician, and he had to give a statement, strong statement, he thought, and that was the strong statement he gave, that we will avenge the blood of everyone. And we can't give any, they have lost all credibility. We can't give any weight, any credibility to that. So what you could say, that what he really meant was that we are going to be more vindictive, more cruel, and uh, and giving more powers to the security forces to go after innocent Kashmiri people. But what is that going to do is it will create more reaction. There will
Mhm.
be more attacks. There will be more reaction, resentment within the Kashmiri community, and it's not going to solve any problem. Secondly, uh, they are going to target innocent people to to cater to a certain constituency who are asking them to go after innocent Kashmiris and arrest uh, school-going children, college students, and innocent employees or other Kashmiris who want to go about their life in a peaceful way. So that is what it really means.
In
Uh,
recent news, in recent footage that we have seen in Indian news media, and obviously these medias are run by the state and they are dictated by the state, what news need to be broadcasted and what not. We have seen more appearances by Farooq Abdullah on different TV channels, and he was, even though he's pro-Indian kind of narrative that we believe that he is serving their interest. And he think that, according to his statement, that Kashmiris are, the killing of innocent people, and it's a kind of a conspiracy to defame the people of Kashmir and the Kashmiri and their caste. Do you think he means what he said?
Well, you can't take Farooq Abdullah seriously. You will see one day, you will see him, giving political statements on television and or from his home, and next day you will see him, singing on a stage. He's not a serious politician. No one takes him really seriously in Kashmir, and they have been telling lies to the people of Kashmir for years, for decades, and they have lost all credibility. So, yes, he's a poster boy, and if the central government or BJP government wants him to do their bidding, do something, he will willingly do it. So I don't think we can attach any importance to what he says, and it has no consequence. He is nobody there. They have lost all public support, of all credibility among the Kashmiri people. So I don't think people are listening to this Farooq Abdullah anymore.
There is a statement. There are several statements coming from Pakistani side, and what we notice, Pakistan is saying, and even you have seen Prime Minister have made mention of it many a time. After the fall of Afghanistan, India has ramped up its campaign against Kashmiris, propagating to the world that we will see an upsurge in the terrorism and violence, and because the Afghans, Taliban are now settled, that they need another place and platform to create another mess in the region. And we have several international journalists have posed this question to the spokesperson of Taliban, and they have categorically refuted it, and they said, well, we have no interest of going into any other place in waging war on anyone. We will not let anybody use our soil, and we will not intrude anyone else's territory. So why do you think India all of a sudden has started campaigning and creating this drama, which Pakistan claims that it's just trying to create a situation where they can, commit crimes themselves and then put blame on Pakistan?
Well, yeah, unfortunately, Kashmir has become a pawn between India and Pakistan. So they are using it to score points against each other, go after against each other, and unfortunately, Kashmiris have no voice in that dialogue, in that conversation. India accuses Pakistan of something, and Pakistan accuses India of something else, and uh, the at the root is their deep dislike of each other, mistrust of each other, and their desire to inflict harm and on each other's country. So it was expected. But so far as Taliban are concerned, I don't see any trace of Taliban in Kashmir. There's no trace, and they are probably not interested in involving their cadres or their fighters in Kashmir. They have their own problems, and they want to deal with that. Besides, Taliban are under tremendous international pressure to set their own house in order. So if they were to, I don't think they want to expand into other territories in Kashmir or other places. This is just being used for propaganda by both India and Pakistan, for their own interests, for their own ends. I don't see that happening in Kashmir in the near future. But coming to the s- current situation in Kashmir, that is generating uh, uh, some feedback from the Indian public.
Hmm.
Uh, Indian intelligentsia, Indian civil society, and politicians. There's a pushback, and I was looking at newspaper reports in Indian press, and they are now saying that what has changed since the abrogation of Article 370 and 35A? Has the security situation improved? Has there been any development there? And after the recent killings, they are asking, you know, it that why is India not in control of the situation in Kashmir? Why are these killings happening? How come civilian killings are still happening when you said that after abrogation of Article 370 and 35A, the security situation on the ground would materially improve. There would be an era of development in Jammu and Kashmir. Why is that not happening? And also, not only there is escalation of violence against civilians in Kashmir, targeted killings to foment communal disharmony and communal trouble in Kashmir. There is also another aspect that Indians are worried about, which is that the 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 clashes between the security forces and militants in Kashmir have recently increased, and there has been a considerable loss of life among the Indian security forces, including the army. Some officers of the Indian army have been killed, uh, as also their soldiers in those encounters. And the Indians are asking the government, why was it necessary to abrogate Article 370 and 35A? What did we achieve from that? So I was looking at some of the comments from the Indian. I have saved some. If Let me read you some of those. So they are asking, uh, things have become worse. This is quotations. These are and bad situation made worse. So there is one, tweet from one Purva Chitnis. He's probably a political leader in Kashmir, in India. He says, heartbreaking news coming in from Kashmir almost every day. What is the center doing? Where is the intelligence, Mr. Doval? Wasn't Kashmir supposed to be a peaceful land after abolition of Article 370? As I maintained always, things are always grey in Kashmir, never black and white. So, again, another quotation, incompetent Modi government. So, this is a discussion going on social media in India, and Indian press is taking note of it. They're not known for reporting news that is critical of the Modi government, and this was reported in Times of India. So there is Indian public, Indian intelligentsia, Indian civil society. They are taking note of this, that this was a failed policy, has not improved the situation in Kashmir, and that it is a total failure. You cannot treat this as a law and order problem and try to suppress people, arrest more and more people, and it has not resulted in any peaceful situation in Kashmir. It's not going to do that in future also, because if you the more you suppress people, the more there will be a desire to express themselves, and unfortunately, in ways that are not peaceful. People have to express themselves. You
Mufti Sab, we are running into the last few minutes of time, and I have a couple of more questions to ask before we close the show. What is the way forward? What role Kashmiri diaspora can play? Why Well, let me pose the both question, and then you can answer me rest of the time that we have. What role Kashmiri diaspora can play? Why Kashmiris are so divided outside of Kashmir? And what happened to that Senate that we were forming?
Uh, a Kashmiri diaspora has a crucial and important role to play, and they can, the one thing, they can be the voice of Kashmir, because Kashmiris are under siege. They cannot speak, they cannot express themselves, and they cannot fight for their political rights. So it is the Kashmiris, it is the duty of the Kashmiris outside of India, the diaspora, to speak for their brothers and sisters in Kashmir and to advocate for them, to talk to politicians, to leaders in the West, to and advocate for their rights. It is their boundary responsibility. So far as the idea of Senate is concerned, that was an idea floated by uh, Kashmir Global Council. I was a vice president of that organization. But initially, due to COVID, it could not materialize. They had called a conference in Texas where people were invited, but because of the COVID pandemic and restrictions on travel, that could not happen. Uh, but then they had decided to have it virtually, in phases, in Azad Kashmir, in Kashmir. Well, I think that also has not materialized. His appearance has not materialized since then. But it is something that should be pursued, because this is an idea that creates a forum that would be representative of the people of Kashmir, because based on the idea that the members of the Senate would be nominated by people in both parts of the Kashmir, and they would it would create a forum that would be have representation and hopefully credibility to talk on behalf of Kashmir. So
Mm.
until that happens, I think Kashmiris need to get together and work unitedly for the rights of Kashmiri people. Because if they don't, it is causing a lot of hurt and and uncertainty inside Kashmir. They can advocate for Kashmiri people in a united way and fight for their rights until the representative body comes into existence. So right now, it doesn't look like that that there are any concerted moves for unity of Kashmiris outside. There are sincere people working all over, in many countries, but it's not a concerted effort. It's not a united effort that it needs to be and it should be.
Thank you, Mufti Sahab. That brings us to our end of the show. And we will have you back for the later discussion. And these are the important topics that we should elaborate a little more on, particularly the Senate, the unity, and bringing all the Kashmiris on the one platform. So make sure that our voices have some weightage to it. Jazakallah khair. Thank you for being on the show. Take good care of yourself. Assalamu alaikum.